Well, here we are. Look at that. Look at that. My name is Uri Schneider, and it is a distinct privilege. You will understand why I am dressed like this. My guest insisted that I show up in this outfit. It's not something that was sent to me, but it's actually something in my wardrobe. For those that are listening and can't see, got my shades. I got my Hawaiian polyester. I'm opting in, but we'll find out why my guest insisted that I wear this outfit. But she calls the shots, and let me just tell you who we have the privilege to be with. Steff Lebsack became a speech language pathologist because she has an older brother, Jasper, who's a person who stutters. I didn't know that until I got the bio. Steff focuses clinically on the treatment of stuttering and cluttering, and is the current course designer and instructor for the graduate Fluency Disorders course at Baylor University online master's degree program. Steff believes that her role in the field of speech language pathology is a life passion, not a career. She lives with her husband, Kevin, and her two beautiful young children, Mary and Karter, and a pug named Ritchie. What about the cats? All right. When she isn't playing with her kids or catching up on stuttering current events, she can be found baking, writing, or reading, maybe even tattooing, I don't know. But she can even be found playing piano or drums if you're brave enough to listen. Now, what's not in the bio, I'll let Steff tell you, but if you know Steff, like so many of us do, she's probably one of the most networked, beloved, remarkable people that I know, in the sense that to know her is to love her. And what she's been going through the past few months has been quite a whirlwind. And for those of us on the outside, we just care a whole lot about her and her family. And we are inspired how they continue to pull through with resilience and faith. And a big shout out to Kevin. You know, if it was International Day to celebrate women yesterday, today should be the International Day to celebrate Kevin and all the spouses that are there to support each other as we try to pursue being our best selves, and also helping our spouses go out and do what they're there to do. And then for those of us dealing with different health related challenges, it takes a family, it takes a community. So with great pleasure, I know there are a lot of people coming in from all over. Drop your likes, drop your comments. I know that Steff is going to reply to each and every one. So without further ado, Steff Lebsack coming at us live from Colorado.
Hello. I brought my ice cream.
Why'd you do that?
Because you like Ben and Jerry's, but this is the best kind.
Little do you know that before we got on, I was listening to my playlist with Trey Anastasio. No joke.
Oh, nice. I like your shades.
Thank you. So what's the deal with why do I need to?
You have to wear that because you wore that to our class one time and I just thought it was fetch. So
I don't think anyone's going to sign up for the next round of Transcending Stuttering, the cohort for SLP training, if they know that this is the way I show up to the class.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. I thought it looked fly. So people do funny things for me. Ask Scott Yaris about that.
Ooh. Okay, then. So tell me, what time is it? You're at what, 8 a.m. where you are?
8 a.m. Yeah. In Aurora, Colorado. It's 8 a.m. Yeah.
Wow. Aurora, Colorado.
It's early.
Fish food for breakfast.
Yeah. It rocks. My 5-year-old calls it salmon ice cream. That's what he calls it.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things, and maybe I will take off the shades. But we're going to talk about, thank you. You know, I think it is fascinating for those of us who don't stutter, how in the world we became so passionate about the world of stuttering and the issue of stuttering and people who stutter and the stories of courage and triumph. And then for those of us who go through things in our own lives, how that informs us and how that emboldens us in our own facing our own challenges and things. Definitely want to hear about your experiences as a speech language pathologist and now dealing with some of those communication things related to the health related journey that you're on. And then just being who you are, all the projects you're involved in, writing a book, multiple books, being involved in the community around the world, offering support and insight. And as easygoing as you are, everybody in the cohort who didn't know you, when you start talking and sharing your wisdom bombs, people just fall off their chair because first of all, you're so unassuming. Second of all, you're so kind. Third of all,
Thanks.
you're going through quite a round of health related stuff. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, you finished the last semester on your last breath before you were like helicoptered to the ICU, but you had to finish teaching first, right?
Yeah, yeah. I like to get resuscitated and wake up and I'm like, I'm gonna teach. And this last time my husband was like, nah. He finally drew a line. I guess my boss, I work at Baylor, second Bears. I teach the graduate stuttering course at Baylor, and I usually teach from the hospital. Like that's my thing. I've done it probably over 20 times, and I remember
Like not
two
from
of
the
those
office,
times.
not the office at the hospital.
No, my office is the hospital bed. And I do that a lot. And so like, that's my norm. And my students are just like, if you have me for class, you just deal with it. And it's just part of the
Steff, first of all,
experience.
we're going through a pandemic. So some people don't know what is this issue you're dealing with. It's not related to COVID, to what I know. And also,
No.
why don't you just call in sick? I think a lot of people take what's called a medical leave to kind of set
No.
aside work responsibilities and take care of themselves. What's up? First of all, what's the nature of what you're going through? Because I do think a lot of people are curious to understand and to know as much as we don't know. And second of
Yeah.
all, why don't you just call in sick?
So that's not my vocabulary. I don't do that. So I have a condition called bronchopulmonary dysplasia. I was born with it. I was a preemie baby, and usually babies grow out of it, and I didn't. And so it's something that's kind of come back to visit me in adulthood, and something that after I had my children, my health kind of started to change. And something that's kind of become what they think is possibly like a degenerative lung condition process. So I've had probably, I would venture to say, over 30 hospitalizations since COVID was a thing, and knock on something, I'm yet to get COVID, which is amazing. Which just goes to show my healthcare workers that I've had are just amazing. But I'm still working. Like I'm considered disabled, but I refuse to stop working because my mind is still really, really sharp. And so it keeps me going. And so I teach my graduate course on stuttering from the hospital a lot. And my students just know me to do that. And so usually I teach it from ICU or wherever I'm at. The only time I don't teach is if I'm on a ventilator, because of course you can't speak. And so I've taught it extremely medicated and not remembered teaching it. Luckily, stuttering is long-term memory for me, so I can teach it with a hand tied behind my back. And I wrote the course, and so I know it, thankfully. And I don't remember teaching most of those times. Probably 2 of those times I remember doing. The rest of them I don't remember doing. So like last Thursday, I stopped breathing and had to be resuscitated after like 6 rounds of CPR. So I wake up and I'm like, I gotta teach. And that was the one time my husband was like, no. And I was like, no, come on. And I guess my boss, like, they texted behind my back and like drew the line for the first time ever. And I was like, what? I was like, okay, fell back asleep. Like, I don't remember any of that happening. So probably a good call that they did that. But then my students stalked me and found my Caring Bridge website and were like, oh my gosh, like what happened? And everybody flipped out and found out what happened. And anyways, I'm good. Just that's a normal thing. Like stop breathing, go back to teaching. It's just my routine. So
one of the things we talk about with stuttering is how important it is to kind of know what's up for the person who stutters, to be informed, to know what stuttering is and what it's not, because it is so probably one of the most enigmatic and hard to understand, hard to grasp, so misunderstood. And we talk about for people who stutter to kind of inform others what's up, what it is, what it's not, and how they want people to treat them. So when it comes to you and this health journey you're going through, what would you say is like, if in simple terms, how would you suggest we relate to you or think about how we Like, should I invite you to speak at a conference? I remember the first time that you reached out to me, you were like, what should I do? I'm lined up for this ENT conference tomorrow and I can't see. I kind of came out of the,
Oh
I
my
can't see.
gosh.
I think I could pull it off. I just can't see. What should I do?
I remember that. I was on the ventilator in July and I did a lot of things with my cell phone while on the ventilator, including agreeing to speak at this major international conference. And I woke up very brain damaged from lack of oxygen to the brain, including like my mind. If you guys have seen the movie 50 First Dates, that's how my brain was. So all three of my sections of my course I was teaching had to be given to other people because I couldn't remember who was coming in my room. I was getting headaches. I started having seizures, which I still do in my sleep sometimes. They wake my husband up at night. And all these things started happening. But I had a cell phone. I spent $700 on Vera Bradley online. Don't give me a cell phone if I'm on, like my next tattoo I get one every time I have a bad appointment that scares me needs to be, do not hand her a cell phone while she is intubated. I mean, it's bad. It's like I do things. I message people things I don't remember. It's legit bad. And so it's kind of becoming a running joke, like the jokes of the things I do while I'm on a ventilator. Because I'm pretty high functioning, but not. It's weird. And so I agreed to do this conference and then I like snap into it. I'm like, what did I do? Like, I can't speak right now. And so I reach out to Uri and I'm like, what do I do? Like, I agreed to do this conference. What do I say? What do I do? It was a little crazy. And I told the people like, I'm on a ventilator. I can't talk right now. Like, it was really bad. But no, for me, like, I think, see, like my brother, you know, as I said, my brother's the one who grew up as a person who stutters, not me. And so I don't claim to know what it's like to grow up as a person who stutters. But for me, I feel like people who stutter understand me more than most people, which is really interesting because when you experience something that is supposed to come automatically, like speaking, like breathing, there are some parallels. You know, for me, it hurts to breathe every time I breathe. For me, my speaking, you know, my doctor's starting to talk about a potential trach vent placement. And so I may lose my ability to speak as a speech pathologist. And if I do, then there are going to be some accommodations that are going to have to be made. And so it's interesting when you talk about a life experience and something that's supposed to come automatic. There's some parallels there. And so when I started to involve myself in the stuttering community, even as a speech pathologist that doesn't stutter, people in the stuttering community accepted me for who I was, despite that I didn't stutter. And it was really, really beautiful. And like when I first got diagnosed with this thing, when they first realized what was going on, I tried to join a support group, for example, and I joined this like COPD support group because what I have is kind of like COPD, but it's not. And everybody was double my age, which isn't a problem. With me, I don't care about age. That's cool. I can jive with everybody. But everybody right away wanted to ask about my pulmonary numbers. They're like, what's your FEV number? You know, that's code for how much, you know, lung volume do you have when you expire, you know, breathe out. And they asked me my numbers. And when I told them my numbers at 33 were already worse than people at 75. And when I realized that, people were like, I'm so sorry for you. You have kids. I'm so sorry for you. You have a family. I'm so sorry for you. You never smoked. And I didn't want people to tell me that. I didn't want to hear, I'm sorry for you. I didn't want to hear how bad it was going to be. I didn't want to hear, well, this is going to get worse and this is what you're going to look like. I didn't want to hear any of that. And so I found myself more in stuttering support groups than I did in lung disease support groups. And people accepted me and they taught me more. Like I learned more about living and acceptance and thriving. How do I be a mom with lung disease? How do I do these things with lung disease and keep going and have a job and have a career and thrive? That's what I wanted to know. I didn't want to talk about numbers and feel like a data plot, you know? And so I think that's where people who stutter are coming from, where when they say, I have a voice and I want to research with you, not at you, because that's how I feel. when it comes to my lung disease. I despise it when they're like, let's do some tests and let's do this. And like, that makes me mad, and so there's kind of some parallels there.
That's really
So
powerful.
again,
I don't mean to
yeah,
interrupt you, but I think the idea that's kind of a wild idea, probably for wherever you're coming from, if you're someone living with respiratory stuff, or you're someone living with mental wellness stuff, you kind of think you got to find your group, your people. So it's kind of surprising that you found your best support, not necessarily in the company of people with similar condition, but in the company of people who stutter. That's fascinating. And I think for people who stutter, it might be fascinating to realize that what happens in a space of really special and wholesome stuttering self-help support can be something that transcends just stuttering. It can be something that enlivens all of us. I know I feel that for myself as an ally, as someone that tries to be, a part of that community, mostly as a listener and as a learner, and sometimes contributing, hopefully in good ways. But
yeah.
I am enlivened and catapulted into a better state of living through both the honest sharing of the challenges that people are dealing with, but also the incredible examples of perseverance. And as you said, not just surviving, but in some cases thriving through that adversity. And I think it's just fascinating and amazing. And what a fortuitous thing that you already knew it existed. So you could just tap right in.
Absolutely.
So you're saying the community around this issue you felt was more of like sympathy and like projections of like, basically the writing is on the wall, and you weren't looking for that. You were looking for
right.
Yeah,
Right.
talk about that. Yeah.
Right. And I didn't want sympathy. I wanted empathy. Like, I didn't want people to say, I'm sorry for you. I didn't want people to say, oh, you have children. That's horrible. Like, I was newly diagnosed and I was scared. And even though I have a tattoo that says fearless, like, I was scared and I didn't want to admit it then. I was new. I wanted somebody to tell me it's going to be okay. And I wasn't hearing that at all. I had one person private message me in the group, and he happened to be a dad of a Baylor girl that I went to college with. So it's like a super small world. And he said, hey, don't listen to them. It's going to be all right. I had one person tell me that. And so it was just, I heard more of what I wanted to hear at the time for my mental wellness through stuttering support groups. And so since then I've met one girl because it's really hard. And this is going to sound kind of morbid, but it's really hard when you have a chronic condition because your side fighting friends die. And so it's hard to want to find support because they go away. And so when you do find support, I've had 2 friends that have gone away recently even. And so it's hard to want to do it again. But I actually just met somebody last week who's 33 that has COPD. And she walked into the lobby when I was at my last appointment. Like, she owned the place, had the cutest boots and the cutest oxygen hose. And I had to talk to her. And I told her, I said, hey, girl, right there. I didn't know what to say. And I said, hey, girl, right there. And I pointed and she goes, yeah. And we started talking. And I said, those boots are super cute. Where'd you get them? And then I said, does your insurance pay for that? And it was this cutest little oxygen hose. And I have to wear oxygen sometimes. When I flare, I have to wear it. I have this big old, you can't see it off camera, but this big, huge concentrator that makes a lot of noise. And that one is a thing for pride for me. Like, once I go on oxygen, ooh, like that bugs me. And so we got to talking, and we have kids, and she has a bunch of tattoos like me. So it's a mental health thing like me. And we had so much in common. And I finally accepted and met somebody who is going through something similar to me. And it was so empowering. And I'm really good friends with Daniela Rossi. And he told me, he was like, that's what it's like. Like, that's what it's like when you connect with somebody. And I thought, okay, I get it. Like, I completely get it. So I still completely feel like people who stutter get me more, but I finally was ready to accept and meet somebody like me who is in this somewhat of a degenerative process, but that's okay. We weren't scared of it. We weren't, and it's really, really cool. And that's why stuttering support groups are so important. That's why as an SLP, you're truly doing a disservice if if your client, if the person you're serving is ready to connect with others, then you need to be connecting with others and making that a part of the therapeutic process.
As most people know, I sometimes put on filters on my face during these interviews. I'll do a couple surprising things. I've never shown up wearing a polyester Hawaiian suit,
it's me.
but Steff comes out to play.
Yeah.
Steff comes out to play. She also brings her
I
posse.
do.
So I just want to give a shout out to some of the folks. Oh my gosh, we got the whole international community here. We got Carolina from Canada. We got Madison. We got Edmund. We got, yeah, he says, Edmund agrees with me. March 9 is now International Kevin Lebsack Day. It's on. It's on. It's official.
Kevin Lebsack Day.
We'll talk to Joe Biden. We'll see if we can get it on the, yeah, Kev, you're on,
He's
man.
watching right
Maybe we'll
here.
get an appearance. Awesome, Kevin. Behind every great woman is a very great man. Victoria Wiggins, of course, from
Yes.
UK, and then Anita coming at us from Scandinavia, and John Gomez always opting in.
Yes.
These are some of your posse. I can't go on and on, but we've got more people watching this live and commenting than we ever have. So Steff, your posse definitely came out. So, so the stuttering support, but what Anita said, I really liked in the comments, it's about the special thing that happens in special places is people connect to something beneath what's surface deep.
Yeah.
And when we connect at the surface, we're looking at what's similar, and then we look at what's different, and anything that's different is often judged to be not up to par, or to feel, different and unacceptable. But I think what I've come to love from working with people who stutter and discovering the strength and beauty of the stuttering family and stuttering support around the world is this incredible warmth and respect. But it's really bigger than the stuttering. And that's what Anita was saying. It's not about that. It's about the way two human beings or a community of humans give space, hold space for one another. And it's kind of like your fortune that you were into this before, that you knew it was there in a selfish way. You were able to tap in at a time when you needed it most. So I think it also speaks to the give and take. I think professionals need to realize we're not just here as givers and as fixers or as therapists to sit on some throne. On the contrary, we're there to serve. Yeah. But we also receive. There's a reciprocity. There's a give and take. Right. How are you shifting the way you're thinking about stuttering and about being a therapist, clinician, professor for your students through this experience that you're going through? Because clearly it's been a transformative one, and you're still on it. But has it changed the way you think about stuttering? Has it enhanced the way you think about your work and about training students?
It definitely has. I tell students that if they happen to get me as a professor, first off, I'm the nut in the family. I just pulled a huge prank on Scott Yaris. You'll probably hear about it. I do funny stuff. I make people do funny things. Obviously, you're wearing a Hawaiian jacket. But yeah, if they get me as an instructor, they get a kind of a lesson in empathy, and they kind of learn flexibility, because my students, I literally was getting resuscitated during class time last week. And so they had to, somebody messaged and said, there's an emergency, you need to watch a recording this week. And my students, of course, were like, is she okay? What's going on? And I warned them when we started the trimester, I hope to finish with you guys. I hope that this thing happens, but this is my situation. And they roll with it. They roll with it every trimester. They are amazing. My students help me thrive. They're part of my journey, and seeing their faces keeps me going. And I tell them I will not stop teaching until I cannot talk. And when I cannot talk, I will use assistive technology. I am determined. I will talk with a computer and teach my class. Because I just will. I love teaching is what I know. I've taught since I was 4 years out of grad school, and I've done it for so long that it's just what I love and love to do. I love to see students learn and thrive, but it has changed my view. People who stutter love to have some sort of control over their own stutter, and that makes sense. When we're treating an entity that's described as a loss of control, anytime you can give them the keys is amazing. And that is what I've learned. I mean, when my breathing is out of control, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't. And when doctors aren't listening to me, it feels even worse. And when the world isn't listening to people who stutter and not giving them a voice, that's terrible. And I think it's made me advocate even more. I think that it's even children. Like, I think it's made me realize that as a clinician, it's not about me at all. It's not. It's my education gives them a template, and it's their stutter, not mine, completely. And
Wow.
and
You got
I
to
think
keep,
that's, yeah.
you need your voice, because you got to keep going. Go ahead. And then I'll talk to you about your voice therapy.
Yeah. And so I think that's what I've learned, because I've experienced some things. There was one time I couldn't breathe and a doctor took away my phone to communicate. And that's what I use to communicate. Even when I'm out of it, apparently. I had a PT come in a week and a half ago, and she brings in this walker and she's like, "Hey, Steff." And I'm like, "Hi." And she goes, like, she knows me. And I said, I'm Steff. And she goes, "I'm Jamie. I met you last week with my student." And I'm like, no clue. And apparently I used my phone while on the ventilator to communicate with her the whole time. And she had a student with her. And the student, she told the student, "Oh, this is a great experience for you. We never see people do this." You can tell she's a speech pathologist. She's using her phone to communicate with us.
Unlocking all the technology that exists behind accessibility features in your general iPhone. Amazing.
Yeah. And so she brings in this walker and she goes, "That's how I knew how to bring in the walker. You told me you have a walker at home." She said, "We told you have 2 daughters and you got really mad and corrected us." I'm like, "That's something I would do." And anyway, so I use my phone to communicate a lot. And I was in this situation where I couldn't breathe, and fighting to breathe is just getting, I will admit now, I wasn't willing to admit this before, but starting to get challenging. I will say that. And so they took away my phone, and I was trying to explain something. And every so often my breathing issues are mistaken for anxiety attacks. And they're, excuse me, here goes my voice. See? And
Perfect
they're
transition.
Right. They're not
anxiety attacks.
No. And so, I was trying to explain that to them, and my husband wasn't there to advocate. He's my POA when I'm not able to make medical decisions, which happens sometimes, obviously. And so I was communicating with them, and they took away my phone and they said, if you can sign to us, then you can talk to us. And I flipped out. Like, I went ballistic and I got mad. And I thought to myself, this must be how people who stutter feel all the time, like all the time. And I'm not a 6-year-old child saying that's being told to be fluent. And that got me, that made me so upset. And when I get mad, and I think this is why I'm so passionate about treating stuttering, because, and it took me a while to realize this, because I once had a person who stutters tell me, "Steff, you're too passionate about this stuff." And I was like, "Well, what does that mean for me? Because you stutter." But every time I get mad, it's as if someone's telling me to watch my brother getting like jumped and punched in the face. Like, every time. And that's how I take it. I take it that personally, because I mean, that must be how someone who stutters feels every time they get interrupted, or every time. And that was just a glimpse for me. And so, I mean, that's why we have to keep educating, and that's why we have to keep advocating. And people who stutter can speak for themselves. They don't need us to save them. But that's why I keep going, because just those glimpses of experiences, when they took away my phone, or I've had times when I've been called the girl who can't talk. And I've had times where I've been called, "Oh, the girl," people tell me, "Oh, you need new lungs," or people make fun of, which it's not funny, but just those little experiences I've had through my journey, I'm like, this is just a glimpse of what it's like. And that fuels your fire,
I would just say, I mean, I think Steff also speaks to, sometimes you need to educate people. Sometimes if we turn on that tap of empathy, and if we find ways through films like John Gomez's film which we'll be screening this Sunday night with the Stuttering Scholarship
Yeah,
Alliance.
you
What a
will.
wonderful coalescence. But once we
Amazing.
stand in the shoes and we understand, there's so many great films. Actually, Thursday, I'm interviewing Mike Turner from Oregon, The Way We Talk, just the empathy piece. And I think the beauty of what you're talking about is if people would just be able to stand in the shoes of another person, you don't need to be taught how to respond. If you just are able to understand what it might be like to stand in those shoes, immediately you know what to do. There's a story I think it comes from Stephen Covey's book, where New York City subway pretty crammed. People don't get too close to one another. You don't talk to one another. You don't make eye contact. COVID might change things. Probably not. New York City subway's been like that forever. But guy gets on at like 181st Street, and he gets on with like 3 rambunctious kids, and everybody's minding their own business, trying to read the morning paper, reading their Kindle, listening to their podcast, probably Transcending Stuttering podcast, who knows. And these 3 kids get on the train, and they are running all over the place. And people are getting a little bit annoyed. And this dad, he's like totally aloof, totally spaced out, not dealing with his kids. And people are getting more and more annoyed as these kids are like swinging around the metal pole, stepping up on the bench, doing all kinds of things they shouldn't be doing. And the blood is boiling for this one passenger on the train. And he's seething negative thoughts, angry thoughts towards this dad. What's wrong with this guy? What nerve? What kind of guy on the morning commute has these 3 kids? What are they even doing here? And at least control your kids. What's going on? These thoughts are boiling up. All of a sudden, the kid stands on the bench of the seat of the train to put his fingers out that little crack of the window. And as he's standing up, he pinches the guy's thigh, like catches the guy's thigh against the bench. And this guy loses it. He gets up there and he gets in the face of this father and he says, "What the heck is wrong with you? Who do you think you are? Getting on the train. Can't you just control your kids?" That moment, the dad breaks down, and he says, "You're right. I don't know how to control my kids. We just left the hospital, and I don't know if their mom's going to be coming out of the hospital, and I don't know how to control my kids." At that moment, nobody needed to be taught or educated how to be empathic to this dad and have a little more patience for these rambunctious kids and have a little bit more empathy and lean in a little bit more, give a little bit more space, give a little bit more time, give a little bit more to someone else and not be so closed and rigid. So I just think from what you were sharing, so many, just the stories are so informative. Sometimes maybe we need your textbook and you're going to finish it and we're going to learn from it. We're going to teach from it. But more than the textbook are these stories where you talk about you're in the hospital and like people need to know you might look unconscious, but you can hear what's being said, or the comments or things that you might joke about. And someone who's listening knows what I'm talking about. I made this mistake. It's okay for people to make their own jokes about themselves, to kind of use humor as a way to cope and as a way to adapt. Doesn't mean it's okay for everyone else to make the same joke. And that's very subtle. I just wanted to riff on that, but I do want, if you don't mind, and you know why, I know someone else who has a certain condition called Parkinson's, who's struggling with his voice. He's also one of the great clinicians and professors out there, happens to be my dad, Dr. Phil Schneider. You can see more on our blog about his journey with Parkinson's, but I know that you had a chance to connect with him about, finding ways to keep yourself going and keep your voice going. Can you share anything from those special meetings?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've had the chance to meet with him once a week, and there's been times, oh my gosh, he's just been amazing as, oh gosh, you're dead. I don't even have, and I'm going to try not to cry. He's just an amazing person. There's times when I've been scared and I'm waiting on results and I can send him an email and he's like, "Call me," or he'll call me right away. And he's busy. Like, he's got a life. He's got his own diagnosis he's taking care of, and he takes the time to call me. And he just, oh my gosh. And the way he's talked to my husband and the way that he's supported us is just amazing. We have been working on voice a little bit. I will say I haven't made the last couple appointments because I've been a little busy, like on a ventilator. But he is just phenomenal. Anything that comes out of that man's mouth needs to be written down. His thought process, his just wisdom, and the way that he fights. I mean, when I saw that man boxing, I'm like, what do I need to be doing to do that? Like, I'm on a walker at 37 and he looks better than I do with Parkinson's. Like,
I don't recommend you jump right in the ring with him.
no, I don't either, because he'd kick my tail. But I mean, just his like he, not that I was losing my inspiration, because I know a lot of people follow my journey and I'm still fighting. I mean, I have kids, but I will say this last time got me pretty down. It was really hard. Really, really hard. And seeing videos like that of him and people like him and being able to reach out to people like him really help. And he's just, yeah, I almost don't even have the words. He's amazing.
Well,
He's
it
a really
also,
phenomenal person.
You're a perfect pair because again, and as we said in the Transcending Stuttering Cohort, it's more than the content, it's about the people. You know, we can transmit information, but that doesn't create transformation.
Yeah.
And the way that you bring your spirit and your passion to life as a mom, as a wife, to your work, to your students, and share with us, you are, on the one hand, going through quite a boxing match with your respiratory condition. And at the same time, you know, you are not throwing in the towel. And all of us are following you and inspired by you and emboldened by you. And you deserve those people that you can lean on. And certainly, you know, there's so many of us you can lean on. And I'm glad that you connected with my dad and that he could be that person. But the therapeutic encounter relationship, being a guide, being a friend to another person who's going through a tough time, you don't need to fix them and you don't always need to teach them, but just being encouraging and showing them the light and hanging in there and holding them in the tough times and through the tears is a big thing. And the other thing you mentioned is the family piece and how you bring that to the work. We need to think about the family members when we're working with kids. We need to think about the siblings and the parents. You're just such a living embodiment of everything good about the work that we do. And like, you don't even need to say anything. You just are. And I think all of us, if we could just realize how good we are, it's less about doing, it's more about just being. But you do a lot and you do share a lot. So when you signed up for the cohort, this 8-week training that we did, a group of therapists, first of all, I was nervous as heck because, you know, you're pretty bright and pretty sharp. So I was a little nervous if I was going to be up to snuff. And at the same time, I was like, you're barely managing to stay out of the ICU. How are you going to show up every Sunday morning for 8 weeks at 10 a.m.? Now, although you didn't and you beat yourself up for it and you keep apologizing as if anyone had a better excuse than you, what compelled you to do that? Like, what was the original impetus that made you jump in? And then, like, what did it turn out to be that made it worthwhile?
So I just keep doing more. I always sign up for more. Random example, you know, I was on the planning committee for the Joint World Congress for quite some time. I finally had to let that go, just health reasons, lots of reasons, you know, mainly because of health reasons. And I loved every minute of it, but I just always have been a person that stayed busy and kept my mind going. And so I always want to learn more and challenge myself. And when I heard that you were doing a course, I just had to get in on it. I think that the work that you're doing is brilliant. I think that the work that you and your father have done is amazing. I think you guys are world changers, and I wanted in. I'm also trying to start a PhD and write a textbook, and that's what people are sick should do, is sign up for more. I'm also planning my 20-year high school reunion. Don't ask why. So I just keep doing more. And so, and my husband's like, what are you doing? What are we signing up for? What, like, he just gets drug along. So
I want to know what Kevin's signing up for. You got to get behind him. Kevin, you got to sign up for either some coaching or something, you know?
Yeah, he's applying for coaching jobs. He's been caregiving for me the past year, and he's really amazing. He literally has to take care of me.
Caring for you is definitely an enjoyable roller coaster ride and an act of devotion and love and I'm
Right.
sure you make it entertaining and sweet at some points, and you make it
It's
tough at
entertaining.
others.
Yeah,
He
I
deserves
do.
some other projects, not just the fish food ice cream. So
He
straight up,
does. Yeah.
straight up. But you guys are awesome, and you're an amazing team, and you couldn't do it without
Thank
each
you.
other. And
Yes.
was it worth
But
it? Was the cohort worth it?
the cohort was really worth it. And when I think about what made it different, it reminds me of, and this is something I reflected in my review, in your review, is it reminds me of the first adult I ever treated who stutters. In my Fluency Disorders course, I tip my hat to ENMU, where I went to grad school. It was really an amazing experience. My professor, she's still there. She's the chair of the department. And she's really, really knowledgeable about stuttering. And I was really, really fortunate for that experience. But I never got to treat anybody who stutters until post-grad school. And so the first adult I ever treated, I was working outpatient, and I just got my C's like 2 weeks before this happened. I was like 24, super young, like little Susie speech path with my stuff with the cute pink folder, and ready to do this thing in my own office, feeling super empowered in myself, which is not what you're supposed to do. And so in walks this gentleman in his 50s, and he had done everything. Like, he had moved his family across the country for intensive programs. He had done DIF, a couple different kinds. He had done so many different kinds of treatments, and he comes in for this evaluation. Not only did he get added to my schedule about 4 hours before he showed up, but he spends the first 30 minutes of our 1 hour block time talking about treatments he's already done. And he ends his time talking with, what's going to make you different? And I'm like, what's going to make me different? And my answer to him, I'll never forget, was, what's going to make me different is that I'm going to make this whatever you need it to be. I'm young, I'm new, but I'm going to work really hard for this to be whatever you need it to be. And I had him for over a year on my caseload, and he taught me about stuttering. He really, really did. And since then, I can't stop. And what made this different is it makes me think of him, because when you focus on human empathy, that's priceless. And that's what that man taught me. And that's what your course teaches people. It teaches you to focus on the individual. And that's so, so powerful. And a lot of your ideas in the course remind me of my ideas in the text I'm writing. Like, just focus on the person, focus on the experience, focus on what they want, focus on them, focus on empowering them. And that is just really, I feel like, where we need to be going with stuttering treatment. It's not about us, it's not about, I mean, if you do this is fine, but I haven't kept my degrees on the wall in years. Like, I haven't, just because I don't want somebody to feel less than when they walk into my office. I want them to feel equal, and they're human beings. And when I started treating them like that, it revitalized the way I do therapy, even with people with aphasia and dysarthria and dysphagia and all these other things we treat. It's just a human being sitting in front of you, and we're all people. And it just changed the way I practice. And I feel like that's what this cohort did. We became a family in the cohort, even though I missed a couple sessions.
Well, in the sessions that you missed, I was going to tell you, I was so concerned that I didn't have the right material. So I actually messaged Kevin to slip me the notes of your manuscript for your textbook. And that's what I used to teach the times you weren't there. And it was fabulous. It was fabulous. Everybody in the cohort can chime in. Yeah.
Not it. Is this what you do?
Not it. Yeah. Well, that spectrograph, Dale Williams likes your artwork. Instead of having your degrees up on the wall, you got a spectrograph, looks like sound waves. And then you got a big heart in the middle.
My friend did, Ashley Fleenor. She has an art gallery in downtown Denver. Shout out to my friend that I went to school with, Ashley. I can PM you her info if you want a custom Work. I finally
Was it
put something
custom?
up. Yeah,
Because
it's a
this is
custom
not
work.
custom. This was yeah, wholesale.
That's
Now
awesome.
John Gomez, our good buddy John Gomez, and apparently you guys go back, but
We do.
he has a non-professional question. You can give us the backstory on you and John, and with caution and trepidation, I'm going to ask you his question. He's curious if you could share. Apparently, you've got some nicknames for some of the people on this in this circle. You don't have to go there, but you can
I
opt in if you
do.
want. Yeah.
I call John Vampire, and I call Nan, Dr. Nan, our esteemed
Dr. Nan
colleague.
Ratner. Yeah, she's a yeah.
She's like my second mom. I call her Goddess, and I call Dr. Yaris Sock Puppet. And I may have told 4 sections of Baylor students last week to email him and call him Sock Puppet. So how bad do you think I have it coming next time I see Dr. Yaris? He got 37 emails calling him Sock Puppet because I may have told them they get extra credit if they do it. And they did it. Yeah, it was really awesome. So hopefully he'll think of something better than ink pen or shaving cream or, pee your pants with the hot and cold water. Or, yeah, I did that. So, yeah.
I won't even ask if you have any others.
I do. Well, and he calls me Miranda. There's a reason. My legal name was Miranda, and then my parents changed it.
From Miranda to Steff.
Yeah.
Stephanie.
I was Miranda Nicole, and then they decided I looked like my dad, who's Steven. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
So tell us about go ahead if you want to tell us more about nicknames.
No, I'm just the nut in the family. So that's what. Yeah.
So what about 1 second? You sent me some notes here, so I'm just checking. 1 second.
I did. I sent you notes.
I'm reviewing the notes that you sent me for sure.
I did.
Well, I think, let's see. Yeah, so you've dealt with a couple different challenges related to what you've been going through health-wise. You dealt with some challenges with your vision, obviously challenges with your breathing, obviously challenges with the oxygen in your brain, and here you are. Can you see me?
That's been hard.
Can you see me?
I can't. I can.
Cannot. Can.
I can see you. So I wouldn't have been able to.
You're back.
Over the summer.
So how did you go through that? Because I'm sure for a lot of people, there's this feeling like it's only going to go one direction. Like it's going to keep getting worse. And also with people with kids with developmental stuff and stuttering, there's often this feeling of the snowball effect. And like every time it happens, it's probably going to accumulate and get stronger and get more of a fixed kind of a presence. And here you are, and you've gone in and out of some of these different things. I was just wondering, like, how do you roll through that, maybe as a family or as a woman, going through when you have these things that are frightening, that are a loss, that are a challenge, a loss of ability, and on the other hand, getting through those moments, but also keeping your head up high, because all of us look up to you as a pretty remarkable example of how to keep going. So if you could share any of the secrets, and I know you wanted to do this today because you wanted to share. So what are some of the things you tell yourself, or some of the things that you guys do as a team, or I don't know, anything you could share with us so that when we face the things that we're facing or that we will face, all of us, we can learn and be better off for it from some of your experiences.
So I tell people all the time that I truly, truly believe there's no difference between me and anybody else. Mine just happens to be called lung disease. That's what I tell people. Everybody has something. And when you think of physical pain and mental health pain, to me, they can both hurt just as bad. When I parent my kids and they're going through something and we go through pain, that hurts just as bad as when I stop breathing. Does that make sense? And so physical pain, that sucks. I'm just going to say it, like, it's getting harder. I will say it. Like, I used to be able to get up and go to work the next day. I used to be able to work on a pain level of a 10. I used to be able to I worked probably a year and a half longer than I needed to in the hospital. I used to be able to treat a patient, go throw up because it hurt, and go right back to it. And I did that for a long time, and nobody noticed it. And when people started to notice, that's when I had to stop working because I couldn't keep up anymore. You know, I do a session with a 3-year-old and I couldn't breathe, and my ER visits turned into admits, and I had to stop. And that was really, really hard because I thrive from people, and I haven't done in-person session in over a year, but I do telepractice now, and I'm employed with like 3 universities. But anyways, and so, but thinking about pain, to me, there's not separation there. You know, we all have something, and so yeah, I go through a lot. But I have a lot of friends tell me, "Hey, Steff, can I vent? I'm sorry, what you're going through is so much, and this is so minimal." And I'm like, don't minimize what you're going through just because of what I'm going through. Like, it's not, to me, there's no difference. It's just, it looks different and it's called something different. But, you know, yeah, I stopped breathing last week, but like, and that hurt like HE double hockey sticks, but you know, it's different, you know, it's just different. But
What was that? What was that expression? Because I'm learning like new expressions that are not the ones I grew up with in the Bronx. HE double hockey sticks. That's awesome.
Well, I'm a cursor and I'm working on it. Instead of HE double hockey sticks, or you can say what the French toast. I'm working on it.
All right.
I'm working on it. I'm trying. When your 5-year-old says a choice word, you need to work on it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That reminds me. Funny story of kids. And it's relevant for the work we do. It's also relevant for parenting, and it's also relevant just because it's relevant. Kid goes to school, the parents just send him to school after kind of raising him and educating him at home and letting him play with the trains and doing this and that. Send him to school, and what do you know? He lets one of these choice words just fall right out of his mouth. The parents are like, "That's it. You see, I told you we shouldn't send him to that school. He's been exposed. He's going to learn all kinds of things. This is just the beginning. Just wait." And they go to the school and they let the teacher have it. They said, "What kind of language is getting used over here? Somebody here, these kids or some teacher, definitely let something go, because this kid never would have gotten that in our house. Never, ever." And the first week he goes to school, comes home and says that, drops that bomb. And they said, no, please, Mrs. Schwartz, like, we would never do that. Our school, we have a very clear policy that we got to use very prim and proper, you know, language. They go home, they're like, "Oh, we got to figure out who it was. Maybe it was an assistant, or maybe it was a substitute." Meanwhile, the kid, it's on the weekend, Saturday morning, the kid is playing with his trains, trying to figure out this complicated train set, and Grandpa's helping him. And all of a sudden, Grandpa gets frustrated and just drops one. That's where the kid got it from Grandpa on Saturday morning. When Grandpa got frustrated, that's where the kid picked it up. And we're so quick to blame the teacher or the school or the neighbors. And I think when it comes to stuttering, I would just say, you know, like things like, you know, important to involve all the stakeholders, all the persons in a person's life, because you never know how Grandpa responds, how Grandma responds. Everybody deserves a chance to kind of unpack what this is and how to relate to it. But yeah, when our 5-year-olds are picking up our stuff, it really is a wake-up call. You gotta show them, don't tell them.
It was totally my fault too. We have a swear jar now, and I'm like, every time I say it, I put in a quarter, and every time you say it, and I have put in $2.50, and my son has put in nothing. It's bad.
Has anyone offered to collect the jar? Do you need any?
I'm gonna give it to Grandma, so who gets it. So I just need to. So
it doesn't go into the ice cream fund.
No,
because that would be kind of like it wouldn't serve the purpose. Okay, so you're into swearing jars. I wouldn't have thought.
Swearing jars. No, recently, yes, but no, but anyways, no, but going back to what were we talking about?
Oh man, we've been around the world and back.
How we've handled challenges, or
you endure. Yeah, Kev, if you're there, we all want to see you. So feel free to just pop right in.
I want to see you. He's watching me. I don't know why. How do you do this? They want to know. How do you tolerate me?
No.
I'm kidding.
Hey, all right. Drop your likes and your comments.
I don't think I can really answer that right now.
Do you want me to take this jacket off? Is that the problem?
Do you want to take the jacket? Oh, he can't hear you.
Can you hear me, Kev?
Yeah, I can.
Hold on, let me turn off the. Okay.
1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kev, we got like people around the world. They've decided, I think you heard, that March 9th is now officially the International Celebration of Kevin Lebsack Day.
Nice.
That's right.
I'll take it.
I do think that the swear jar should go to something that helps Kevin with his gear with the kids on his team. You know, every kid is going to love the coach that gets them gear. So forget about your ice cream fund, Steff. You got to take care of that some other way.
Yeah, there we go.
Dang it.
But how do you guys roll? What's the magic of love and marriage through very challenging ordeals, and in what ways do you kind of pick yourself up and pick each other up? I think it's totally outstanding, and it's certainly not all peaches and cream, but you know, the two of you sitting there and laughing next to each other is just such a beautiful image, and one that is so deep. So yeah, what's something that keeps you going, or you think Steff has that keeps her going, that's just remarkable, something we could learn from?
You know, I think that it really starts from our faith. It's really where it starts, and that helps keep us grounded. And you know, when everything is going wrong in the world, you know, and those of us that have that faith to fall back on, we kind of have that. It's like that compass that points us back to north. And so, regardless of how ridiculous we start to think about things, and we go, "Oh, well, I'm right," or "You're wrong," and this and that, we come back to, "Oh, this is true north over here. This is what we believe to be true north." And we have to have grace and forgiveness for each other, and we realize that you know, that this world is much bigger than ourselves, and
Oh, preach on, brother. Amen. Can I get an amen?
yeah,
Drop an amen, and you get.
So that's
There we
pretty much it. I mean, that's what really grounds us and brings us back to center after the different things and craziness that happen in this life.
It's been hard.
Listen, if you're starting a congregation, I'm signing up.
All right. Heck yeah.
I'm in. What's the t-shirt, Kev? I got no, what does it say? No.
Oh, this is really funny.
It says no perfect people.
Is it
allowed.
funnier than my jacket?
I like it.
No.
Yeah. I told
No
you about
This
this.
is the requested jacket, huh?
Yeah, that's the jacket. And he's got glasses
Oh,
too.
no perfect people allowed.
Yeah, he's got glasses.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What are perfect people? Yeah.
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 Perfect.
Yeah,
But
they don't
amazing.
exist.
It's been hard. Kevin's really had to roll with a lot. He's gone through a lot. And because like I can't drive anymore because I can't see well enough to drive legally. And so he has to drive all the time. He has to shower me now. I mean, like he really has to
TMI. Let's keep it
well, no, I mean, just care. Like he has to do activities of daily living. You know, when you think about it therapeutically, he has to do everything. And we have 2 kids to boot. So like he's got the kids saying, "Dad, I need
without TMI. Like what's one thing that you actually love that you have an excuse to have him do? I don't know, making the peanut butter sandwiches for the kids, you're doing the laundry, or sorting the socks. Like what's one thing you're happy you're not doing, Steff, that you're happy to lean on Kev?
Probably taking the kid. Well, probably cooking.
Cooking?
I like to cook, but
All right, now I'm gonna play Dr. Phil. Since my dad's the original Dr. Phil, I'm gonna do Dr. Phil little marriage
I've
thing.
met Dr. Phil.
All right, Steff, hang on there. All right now. All right, well, Kev, now, what's one thing as soon as Steff feel well enough, you want her to pick up again? What's one thing you just want to get her well enough that she could take off your plate?
Should I put up a sign?
No,
You
you should
want to
be
get?
quiet. Let him go.
Oh, okay. See?
You got the mic, Kev. What you want? What would you wish? What would you wish for her to be well to take on?
Dishes.
Dishes.
Oh, I want to guess laundry.
I hear that.
Dishes.
I hear that.
Oh, laundry.
See?
You throw it in the thing and push the button.
Hey,
I'll let you away the laundry.
forget about it. Laundry, forget about it. See, Steff, your thing is laundry, it's dishes. So get your, listen, before you get to the textbook, start working out on the dishes routine, okay? It's a little wax on and then wax off. You get the little sponge going on there.
Dishes.
Yeah, see?
They make the Roomba, you know, the automatic vacuum thing that goes around the house. They're designing one that you put on the counter in the kitchen, and it just kind of does the counters, and then it just plops right into your sink.
Ooh,
and it kind of does a little Roomba. Yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm down for
Now, on a
that.
serious note, you guys moved from Texas to Colorado, right?
They
Right.
did, yeah.
What's the best thing about Colorado life, and one thing that you miss in Texas?
Probably the best thing in Colorado.
What do you
Probably
like? What's a
the scenery. Probably the scenery.
I like running up here.
He
Yeah.
runs in the He's
It's
crazy.
fantastic.
He runs in like -10-degree weather.
Yeah.
I want to know the altitude you run in, because I was bagging some 15ers back in 2017. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Garmin.
Yeah.
I run in this jacket. People seem to run away from me. I don't know. It clears things out. I get lots of space.
You know, I think they need to change the name of this thing though. It works, but it says Ironman, and then it tells me this is too cold. You should consult your doctor and think about not working out today.
Yeah, but a Lebsack doesn't listen to that. Not a Steff, not a Kevin. No, no way. You got to get one of these Garmins. I never got a warning like that. It just tells me it's time to get moving. Get your tail out of bed and get rocking. How you like that, Steff? Got my tail out of bed. I picked that up from you.
There you go. See,
Kev, what's one thing you missed from Texas, or that you found to be nice in Colorado?
Okay, the big thing that I miss is just the friendliness. You know, you in Texas, you can see complete strangers everywhere you go, and everybody's like, "Hey, how you doing?" You may never see them again. You know, and that's okay. But there's a lot of that sort of thing in Texas, and here people are more to themselves. Like, I don't know you, so why would I wave and say hello?
But it's a city.
Good thing you don't live in New York City. It's a good thing you don't live in New York City. I'll tell you a true story, and I'll leave you with a message of faith for all of us, that we can take the beauty of Steff and Kevin and bring it to the world and bring more light. And hopefully something Kevin just said, I have a plan for the two of you. You're on a missionary. All right. So the thing that my father would do for many years, many years, he would go down to Central Park before sunrise. It would be about a 20-minute drive without traffic. And he went with one buddy of his, and they would go around the loop, something called the loop in Central Park. It's a 10K loop, and he'd go rollerblading. And I think my dad's okay saying it, but he didn't exactly have the coolest gear. Let's just put it that way. He wasn't exactly decked out in the finest. And people who go on the loop, they are decked out, okay? It's like a whole subculture. The other part of the subculture is everybody goes in a certain direction, okay? And it's like, head down, this is no talking sign. Like, Kev, you know, if you're a serious runner, like, do not disturb. Basically, you don't even need to have a shirt that says do not disturb. It's understood. Well, my dad and his friend would deliberately go in the opposite direction of the running and cycling traffic. And instead of letting themselves go head down, all these people would be like, early morning, you know, haven't had their second cup of coffee yet. Play a game. And it wasn't Texas, but if it was Texas, be like, hey, y'all. But they would say like, good morning. They would say good morning and greet every person. And if the person did not respond, like didn't even lift a head, there's no points, okay? If the person kind of like raised their head or like turned around, that's a 1-pointer. If they actually responded, that's a 2-pointer. And what ended up happening was, in his less than fancy schmancy gear, he and his rollerblading buddy got invited, no joke. There was this very, very classy crew of people that actually went horseback riding at that hour. And they were having a party for all the riding friends by their stables. And they invited my dad and his friend. And my dad and his friend said, well, we don't have the gear that you guys have, the fancy pants and fancy boots. And this isn't the kind of thing people are riding out in Texas, out in the, you know, rodeo. But this is like class, whatever, Manhattan horseback riding. It's a specific type.
English style.
Exactly. English. There you go. English saddle, not bareback. No lasso going on. So, so they said, no, we don't want you to come in your riding gear. We want you to come in your rollerblading gear. You know, like your Reebok windbreaker and your elbow pads and wrist pads. And so they did and had a great time. But the point is, you got to bring Texas to Colorado. The Lone Star State is now sending people out to bring that friendliness and that warmth and that person. And now if you go, Kev, and you go give somebody like, hey, y'all, and they don't say anything, that's no points. If they raise an eyebrow, you get 1 point. And if they turn back and they say shalom, that's a 5-pointer right there, because that's one of my people.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, with that, any final thoughts you guys want to share? Because so many people are so happy just to see the two of you smiling and kicking it, and truly you're an inspiration to me. And I get so much just to follow you guys and to know you're going through this, but you're going through it together, and you're going through it strong, and with all the ups and downs, which are ups and downs and hard. You guys are just absolutely remarkable and human and real and honest. And I thank you for just doing what you do. And, You know, you should know that you don't have the weight of the world on you, but you have a world of people behind you, and you can turn to all of us. There's people dropping messages. You can call for a hug anytime, either one of you. And at the same time, we are inspired. We inspired by you. So the give and take continues to flow. But yeah, what would your final thoughts or parting thoughts be for today?
I don't know, just keep on keeping on. You know, we all go through stuff, and you just got to keep pushing forward. Like, I messaged my doctor when I was on the vent and I was really mad about something. I guess I wasn't in the right mind. And I told him later on, I said, if I ever tell you I'm done and I quit, I want you to talk me out of it. And I was serious when I said that. You know, if I ever message you I'm not myself, I want you to talk me out of it. You got to keep going. We have families, we have life, and life happens big, but like for us, we have our faith and we have God, and we have a reason, and so just keep pushing forward.
Wow.
So,
Kev,
Yeah.
what you got?
You know, I think that you got to have a heavy dose of love, grace, and forgiveness for each other. You're going to screw up. You're going to get mad about the situation. You're going to get mad at each other wrongfully, and sometimes even rightfully. And you got to keep moving on.
rightfully.
And sometimes you are right.
Sometimes.
It's getting so sweet and cozy over there. I feel like we better end this soon. So I'll just say this. You guys are awesome. I had a thought that just escaped me. Give me just one moment. Yeah, I think just keeping our best self out front. So like there are moments that you're feeling like nothing's right in your life, and just recognize that's not the time to make any big decisions, because you're not going to see anything
Right.
good. You're not going to be very resourceful. In your best moments, in your clearest states, in your strongest state of mind, in moments of clarity, whether it's your faith, whether it's your commitment to whatever, those are the voices you should write down, record little videos for yourself. Like, hey, Uri, this is Uri in a strong state talking to Uri that you're probably not seeing anything good. Well, let me remind you all the goodness and gratitude that you're recognizing right now that's real. And let me remind you what you're really here to do, okay? And the going is gonna get rough, but just remember, this is what brings you the most meaning and the most value and the most purpose, even if it ain't pretty and even if it ain't public. This is where you gotta be. So talking to yourself from a strong state and not listening too much when you're in a fakakta state. That means not ideal state. And I just remembered and lost again. I think I'm like resonating with the vibes, Steff, that things are coming and going in my head. My goodness, hold on a second. I had a good thought. I got it. Here we go.
All right,
It's
here we
my
go.
COVID story. You ready? It's my COVID story, and that's it. The stories we will tell. All of us are going through tough times. Now, you guys have your own, and as Steff, as you said, as much as we can look and say, wow, you got it rough, everybody's got their Mount Everest.
Right.
And one of the things that I've leaned into these months with my family is to say, hey, let's think about how we're going to live through this, and the stories we'll tell about it a year from now, 5 years from now, a generation from now, of how we stood up to that ordeal, to that challenge. And if you live with that kind of message, for me, that works. For different people, you got to find what works for you. But I think faith, family, community, and feeling about, hey, we got this. And it's not about the destination, it's about the journey and how we get there together and how we climb together. So thank you for taking the time, you guys. I'm sure you don't have anything else better to do than sit with us for over an hour, but thank you for sharing so openly and sweetly. If you've appreciated this conversation, drop your comments, your likes, your shares. You can see more on the podcast, Transcending Stuttering with Uri Schneider. Subscribe, it helps us spread the goodness there. Steff is one of many, perhaps the most amazing of our guests thus far, but we have several other wonderful, wonderful people. And if you're interested in any of the other things that we're doing, Transcending Stuttering, the cohort for SLPs, or Transcending Stuttering experiences for teens and adults, go to schneiderspeech.com/TSA, and you can sign up for the free emails and you get all the information you need, and you can also get some free goodness. Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome, awesome Tuesday.